For more on this story, we can bring in our chief foreign editor, Rob Parsons. Rob, we are seeing a humanitarian crisis unfold. What is the situation on the ground exactly?
Well, as you say, a humanitarian crisis, and that's exactly what the United Nations Refugee Agency, the UNHCR, is describing it as. 30,000 people have already fled into neighboring Sudan, into a remote area of Sudan, which really doesn't have the facilities to deal with a crisis like this. The UNHCR is on the ground trying to help them. They're trying to put together a facility that will be enough to look after 100,000 people. That's what they're expecting in the days ahead. But what we don't know is really what's happening inside Tigray region itself, because there is no access. Communications have been shut down. Journalists are not allowed to go into Tigray. Indeed, journalists are being cracked down on in Ethiopia unless they toe the government line. Aid agencies aren't able to get into Tigray. So we can only surmise, judging from the tales we're getting from the refugees themselves in particular, who are talking about a pretty terrible situation with attacks. We've had one case of a massacre documented by Amnesty International, allegedly by forces aligned to the Tigrayan People's Liberation Front, but the government forces also bombing Mekelle, the regional capital. They say these are precision-led surgical strikes, but I guess they would say that, wouldn't they? We don't really know, but we do know from the people who have fled to Sudan that they're terrified, that they're being attacked by all kinds of forces, including, they say, in some cases by the Ethiopian Defense Forces.
It's amazing that in just a week, so much destruction has happened. What about the diplomatic efforts to bring an end to this conflict in the north, in Tigray region?
Well, there are diplomatic efforts underway. The United Nations, the African Union have both been trying to persuade President Abiy Ahmed to go down a peaceful path, to look for a peaceful resolution of the situation. The president of Kenya, Uhuru Kenyatta, has been trying to do the same. Museveni, the president of Uganda, has been trying to do the same. But again, to no avail at this stage. And I suppose, you have to bear in mind a couple of things. First of all, the AU is not in a strong position to push because its headquarters are in the capital of Ethiopia, Addis Ababa. Plus, it needs Ethiopian forces in the fight inside neighboring Somalia against Al-Shabaab, the jihadist group there. So they're not in a strong position to put on pressure. From the point of view of the Ethiopian government, they're not in a mood to back down. They're not in a mood to talk peace at this stage. As Abiy has put it himself, they're going now onto a full-scale law enforcement operation which will be launched in the coming days. They intend to capture the capital of Tigray, Mekelle. And the logic behind this is simply that the TPLF, the ruling group inside Tigray, for 30 years was the backbone of the repressive authoritarian government that ruled Ethiopia. In 2018, effectively it was pushed out of power. But they are entirely opposed to the reforms that Abiy is trying to institute in Ethiopia. That is the essential logic behind what he's doing. And he's not likely to back down at this stage until he feels that he has quashed the TPLF in Tigray.
We'll see what happens in the coming days. Rob, thank you very much for that. Rob Parsons there.